Today we are going to discuss about database management system. Now let us understand what is database management system and what it consists of. A database management system is a collection of data and it consists of a collection of interrelated and persistent data and also it consists of a set of application programs used to access, update and manage the data. Now let us understand the brief history of database management system. In early 1960s, first general purpose database is introduced by Charles Batchman. He introduced an integrated data store and he developed that based on the network data model. So in early 1960s, first general purpose database is introduced by Charles Batchman and he is introduced as integrated data store and he used the network data model. And later on in 1960s, IBM developed information management systems, which is also known as IMS. Later on in 1960s, IBM developed information management system. They used the hierarchical data model to develop it. It leads to the development of airline reservation system, which is developed by AA and IBM. And that airline reservation system, which is developed by IBM, is used still now in nowadays also. And later on in 1970s, Edgar Cord of IBM Edgar Cord of IBM developed the relational data model, which is led to several Dbms based on relational model. So it leads to the Edgar Cord of IBM developed relational data model in 1970s, and it is based on relational data model, as well as it is important. It is important for theoretical results also. It leads to the Codewin's Turing Award, and also it lead to the Codewin's Turing Award. And later on in 1980s, relational model dominant is introduced and SQL standard is introduced. And later on in late 1980s and 1990s, Dbms vendors extended system is introduced, which is allowing more complex data types which consist of images, text, etc. Metadata also handled by using DBMSs. By using that, DBMS vendor extend systems. Now let us understand some advantages of DBMS. Advantages of DBMS are controlled redundancy, sharing of data, data consistency, integration of data, data security, control over concurrency, backup and recovery procedures, data independence. Control redundancy means when repetition of actually redundancy means repetition of data. Repeated data is called as redundant data. So in DBMS, repetition of data is less or controlled, or we tried for maximum no redundancy. We tried for maximum no redundancy. But if not possible, control redundancy is maintained in database management system, and that is the advantage because of database management system. And sharing of data. Data sharing is possible and it is easy for sharing of data using database management system, and that is one of the advantage of DBMS. And data consistency, integration, data security, control over concurrency, and backup and recovery procedures which are provided by the DBMS, and data independencies. All these are all comes under advantages of DBMS which are provided by the database. And there are two different kinds of in DBMS, we use two different kinds of languages to create database tables and to update the data and to maintain the data. So the two kinds of database languages are DDL language and DML language. DDL language and DML language. DDL means the expansion of DDL is data definition language and the expansion of DML is data manipulation language. Data definition language statements are used for defining the database structure or database schema. Database structure means the number of fields we want to we want to create in a database table, and the data types, the type of the data which we want to store on the database called fields are defined by using database data definition languages. So data definition language statements are used to define the database structure or database schemas. So there are some commands useful for us for defining data definition languages. So some of the commands, DDL commands are create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename. So some of the DDL commands are create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename. So what is the purpose of create is to create objects in the database. That means to create tables in the database. And alter is to alter the structure of the database table which we have created. To alter, that means to modify the structure of the database table. And the drop is to delete the objects of the database. To delete the tables or objects of the database, we can use drop command. And truncate, the truncate command used for removing all records from a table. The truncate is used for removing all records from a table, including all spaces allocated for the records are removed. When we use truncate, including all the spaces allocated for our రికార్డ్స్ కోసం అలొకేట్ చేసిన స్పేస్ కూడా రిమూవ్ అవుతుంది. అండ్ నౌ కమెంట్ ఈస్ యూస్ టు యాడ్ కమెంట్స్ టు ద డేటా డిక్షనరీ విచ్ వీ హ్యావ్. Comment is used to add comments to the data dictionary. And rename, it is used to rename a database table, that is to rename a data object, which is used to rename a database object. So these are all the some of the commands, DDL commands, some of the data definition language commands. So once again, data definition language commands are create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename. Now the other data language which we can use on database is data manipulation language, which is also known as DML. DML is data manipulation language. These data manipulation language statements are used for managing the data within the schema objects, that is within the database tables. Database tables లో క్రియేట్ చేసిన డేటాని మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయడానికి to manipulate the data in the database tables, we can use data manipulation languages. Some of the DML commands are DML means data manipulation languages, and those data manipulation languages are used for manipulating the data which is present in the database, tables. Now some of the DML commands are select, insert, update, delete, call, explain plan, lock table. Select, insert, update, delete, call, explain plan, lock table. So select DML command is used to retrieve data from the database table. The select command is used to retrieve the data, and insert command is used to insert data into a table. When we want to insert some data into a table, we can use insert DML command. And update, it is used for updating the existing data within a table. To modify the existing data in a database table, we can use update command. To delete all the records from a table, we can use delete command. In DDL, we are having drop command to remove all the records, to remove all the data, including spaces. In DML, we use delete, which deletes all the records from a table. The spaces for the records are remaining, they will not be erased. But when we use drop, the space allocated for the records will also be erased. But here, all the records from a table can be removed, but the space allocated from for them is available, that cannot be removed. And the next one is call command, call DML command. It calls a PLSQL or a Java subprogram. So the call command can be used to call a PLSQL or a Java subprogram to the Dbms. And explain plan. It is used to explain access path to the data. It is used to explain access path to the data. And finally, lock table, which is used to maintain controlled concurrency, which is used for control concurrency. So these are all the DML commands. Now the DML commands are select, insert, update, delete, call, explain plan, and lock table. So these are all the DDL and DML commands. Once again, in database management system, we use two kinds of languages, DDL and DML, to create a database structure and to maintain data in the database. By the languages are DDL and DML. DDL language means data definition language, and DML means data manipulation language. DDL is having some commands and DML is having some commands to interact with the database. So DDL commands are create, alter, drop, truncate, comment, and rename, which can be applied on the tables. And DML are select, insert, update, and delete, call, explain, plan, and lock table. By using these two commands, we can interact with the database very easily. We can insert, update, and alter the data by using DDL and DML commands. So that is about briefly about database management system. Thank you.